What's up, guys? In the last video, I took this Feiyue FY03H, man, that's a mouthful, for an introductory test run on top of my Toyota Prius. And a guy actually walked by in a mask to protect himself against the COVID-19 virus, and he gave me a thumbs up. Check this out. I know what you're saying to yourself, bro, this is probably exactly the same as this WLToys that I have, right? And yeah, it's basically, of course, it's based on the same chassis. The difference is, this has a metal body and it is brushless. Also, there's some other main differences with the wheels. If you look at the wheels alone, you could tell that the wheels on the Feiyue are, you know, they're a good amount larger. This, to be honest with you, has been one of the most reliable and just easy to run RCs I've had for a long time. This is the first WLToys 12428. Also a mouthful. It's like a thing with these Chinese RCs. It's hard to pronounce the name of pretty much any of them. Either way, this is good. It runs a 2S, it runs a 3S, and this, we're gonna stick a 3S in this later. We're gonna check it out. I've seen a lot of videos on these, and most people just run them on the included, you know, lithium ion battery that it already comes with. This is not a lithium polymer, it's a lithium ion. You could still charge it using your own regular chargers. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It runs fine, 1500 milliamp hours. But these things could take a 3S. The main difference between this and something like this is, I don't really want to use the word toy grade, but this runs non-standard electronics over here, so you cannot upgrade anything. You know, these have 2-in-1 combination ESC receiver systems and 5-wire servos. Pretty much you're stuck with the drivetrain that it comes with, unless you want to change the entire system, which is going to be the price of the car or more. These right here, they've made a substantial leap to run brushless systems with, you know, pretty much standard style electronics, meaning if you want to use your own radio, you could. If you want to use the included Traxxas knockoff radio, you also could. I already used this. The range is very good. It's a 2.4 gigahertz unit. The radio on the WLToys here, which is an old design, is basically a joke. You could tell it's like very kid-like. I actually have some kind of issue with the internal wiring, so I have one of my batteries constantly sticking out because the on-off switch is basically faulty. So for me to run this, I have to put this battery back in, and it's pretty much constantly hardwired to be on. I opened up the, you know, actual remote case here, and I started the on-off switch together. I had no choice because the only other solution would have been to completely replace the entire radio system and drivetrain on this right here. So any malfunction with, you know, something that runs non-hobby grade electronics, you're pretty much in it deep there. This Feiyue at least has managed to actually give you a pretty good ergonomically correct radio. This is the radio it comes with, and this is a Traxxas slash radio. You could see the designs are nearly identical. And you know what? Some would say, hey bro, it's a copy, it's bad, don't do it. Generally, when you copy a good design, just like this radio copy, the Traxxas style radio, you're not gonna end up with something that's a disaster. And I gotta say, this is actually quite comfortable, and it's also good for left-handed people. You gotta check this out. Right, so the wheel, you know, you have the ability to flip what side you want to use it on. Pretty cool. There's a switch on top here that also lets you control, you know, the left and right inputs. Don't think this remote is as basic as just a direct copy. You see these two little key style things I'm holding right here? Well, there is what's known as a children's mode and an adult mode. And apparently that controls, you know, the top speed that you have for one of these. And you could stick this in here. We're gonna do this later. We're gonna see what the actual difference with the wheel speed is. You see this little strip of paper here glued onto the tire? Well, we're gonna check the wheel RPM based on, you know, what mode we're using on the remote. I have a digital tachometer right here. That's right, I don't play around. We're literally gonna use a laser to measure the RPM of the tire. I'm just curious whether the high-speed model mode actually does anything. And we're gonna pretty much aim this laser at the wheel, and this is gonna tell us how many RPM that we're generating. These are the kind of scientific expeditions we go on my channel. You know what I'm saying? We're not just gonna stick this and send it. We're not just gonna go to a skate park, you know, jump it as high as possible and say, oh man, the front suspension broke. I mean, it's bad. What did you expect? If I threw this out the window of, you know, the 6th floor, or if I threw a Losi out of the window of a 6th floor, or I threw an Arma out of the window of a 6th floor building, they pretty much will have a lot of damage. Some will call it collateral damage, in a matter of saying, you know. Price-wise, I would consider this to be mid-range. Right now, they're $128. They ship from the US warehouse. Shipping is relatively quick, no problems there. You don't even have to pay sales tax on any of these Banggood transactions. I think it's like the last online retailer in the USA that doesn't charge sales taxes. Don't know how they got around to that, but hey, they did it. They're trying to save you a couple bucks, why not? This model right here, this is the mid-range model. There are models that run a brushed system, and there are models that have full aluminum alloy suspension parts, shocks, everything. And they're like about 200 bucks. This is, I would say, the best equipped, you know, general all-purpose one. The only bad thing, and I am gonna point this out, is you'll notice obviously off the spot, is the suspension. So the shocks, they are not oil-filled shocks. They do have aluminum shock caps, which is kind of funny, but they are not aluminum-filled shocks. These are just basic, what they call friction shocks. Not the end of the world. There's plenty of parts and option parts for this model on the Banggood website. You can get yourself a full set of pretty cool tricked out looking aluminum shocks for like $9 to $10 a pair, and you're gonna have yourself a pretty cool little RC. You know, it's brushless metal body. I like this thing. So in terms of design, these are what I would consider axial copies from years ago, this rock racer style design. This is what it's known as. So in the front you have independent suspension, you know, where each wheel could travel on its own. In the back you have more of a fixed four-link type suspension. So collectively, this makes for pretty good axle articulation. You know, when you're driving, you can clearly tell the axle articulation is insane here. And in the front, you have pretty good steering. So, you know, when you have like all locked axles, which is what you want on a rock roller, you have terrible high-speed driving, you have terrible handling. This one has a cool trick up its sleeve. I've watched a lot of reviews on this and nobody has pointed this out. So, the back two wheels, they are open. You see how I'm spinning one and one is fixed? Right. The front two wheels, they are locked. So I cannot possibly, you know, hold one and spin the other. So you have a locked front diff. Oh, turned it on accidentally. Good thing this didn't apply full throttle in my hands like some of the Traxxas models do. I don't know if you guys ever powered on the Traxxas first before powering on the remote. It's pretty much going to apply full throttle right in your hand. I know that happened to one of my friends with an e-Revo. Pretty much hurt him bad there. The only reason I even noticed that the front on this was locked is because I try to go rock crawling with this old WLToys right here, and the front diffs are open. So they're really, really, really loose. You're not going to be crawling anything with an RC like this. It's cool and all, but as a rock racer, it's going to be trash. That's just one of those things. You really need a locked front diff on a model like this to do any sort of crawling. And I also want to point out the tires. They are actual beadlocks on this. Very surprising. Take a look at this picture. I disassembled the tire, you know, while I was having lunch in my Prius the other day. And you could tell you have two beadlock rings, you have foam inside, you have a tire, and of course you have the wheel itself. Pretty cool design. They've managed to not use any metal hardware in the beadlock design itself. Very interesting because these old school WLToys right here, they have screws holding in the beadlocks. The rubber itself on this new model is substantially softer. This is like some of the softest rubber I've ever felt. The one on this one is hard. Now, of course, you know, there is a good and bad side. This is going to bite a lot. When I say bite, I mean it's going to hook up in the turns. It might roll over. 12mm hubs on both of these, so you could pretty much put on any tires you want. You also have light pods on the top here, on the front, that are LED ready. So if you wanted to wire up some LEDs, you could. You have a pretty cool looking light pod. It's already included. LED kits are like nothing. They actually sell them on the Banggood website for like, I think, $5, $6 or something like there. In the box, you get a whole bunch of information, pretty interesting specs on the motor system, the ratings on the watts, and ratings on the amps, whatever the hell you want over here. You have an instruction guide for the remote, you know, for beginners, and how to activate the high-speed mode and how to turn on the child mode. So pretty interesting. We're going to test that out later, as I said. You have some stickers. I never really care about those. And you have an instruction manual with exploded parts diagrams. So I always love to look at stuff like this that is included with RCs, because this really tells you how the stuff is put together. If you're a beginner, you know, you're just learning something like this is useful. We have the charger here, you know, basic wall charger. We also have a little packet of goodies, a metal wrench. This is rare. Usually these things come with like plastic wrenches constantly. What is really interesting are these two separate pinions in here. I'm not sure what the tooth count on this is, but the pinions is probably where the speed is gonna be. A lot of these Banggood Special RCs, they're just really, really under geared. If you run a normal battery in this and you run, you know, the proper gearing and you don't kill it, these things actually last for a very long time. If you're wondering, have I broken anything on this over the years? The answer is no, absolutely never. And this honestly is one of the most satisfying RCs I have. I've actually given this to a, you know, a younger friend of mine. He's one of my YouTube viewers, and he had a great time with this. This is one of those RCs you can give to pretty much anyone, and they'll crash it anywhere they want, into a car tire, into their leg. You know, doesn't matter. It'll be fine. These things are solid. They're built for, you know, abuse, some would say, to a degree. I have both of them on. I just want to point out the differences with the steering. The original WLToys, look at the steering slop. It is insane. This is like basically half of the actual steering throw in steering slop. The new Feiyue right here, pretty minimal steering slop, and I'm moving it, you know, as much as I can. This is huge. There's a lot of slop. What about the servo speed? Here's a WLToys. For me, it's adequate. But the Feiyue, oh man. That is crazy. I'm going to try to do both of them here at the same time. Yeah, the Feiyue is definitely faster. Right? Yeah. It's hard to tell. They're still good. It really comes down to the steering slop. You guys see that? This is like, WLToys is like a wobbling, which is really, really funny looking. Feiyue is a better overall car. Even the quality of plastics, I could tell. The A-arms are thicker than the ones included here. I'm ready now to do the RPM test with the wheel speed. We're gonna start out with the remote in children's model. We have the key, we could switch it easily, just like that. Easy as it is, literally like a key they give you. I'm going to switch it over to the high-speed model now. Let's see the RPM we get. Positive results. The high-speed model and the remote allowed us to do an extra 200 RPM. It's not a substantial speed difference, you know, but still, it actually works. I'm surprised this thing is not actually a gimmick. There is an actual children's model mode and a high-speed model mode. Although I do wish, you know, it was like, you know, 3 times higher, but that's okay. We could still stick a 3S into this bad boy, and it's gonna be quick. How you like that testing? Yeah, I don't play around. Hybrid on this channel, we don't joke. We like science, and burgers, and pizza. And now for something interesting. I stuck on a huge 3S LiPo. I'm not even gonna fit this in there correctly. We're just gonna see what the RPM is gonna be with a 3S LiPo. This is like a cheap pack, no big deal. Let's go. I've decided to just right now go stick a 3S in there. I pretty much just lowered the battery tray in there a little bit so the 3S does fit. I removed one of the screws here from the metal plate on the side of the body here. The wheel is still on. It really is just protection. You don't need the wheel, to be honest with you, just in case I roll over. I don't want this battery to contact, you know, the pavement that I'm running it on, because yeah, these rock racer style chassis are not known to be extremely stable. Oh, wheels up in the air. It's like a plane. Ah, pretty quick. Gotta be careful with this. Of course, you know, we're still running these old shocks. Of course, the front lock diff is not ideal for speeds, but it's pretty quick. Look at that. No flips at all so far. Pretty quick for a, you know, a pretty cheap low-end brushless system. Oh, first flip. But that's okay. Like I said, it's gonna roll. These tires are really, really grippy. What we get? Guys, I think this is a success. We got 30 miles an hour. So that's actually not bad at all. With a 2S, expect to be, I would say, maybe 22 miles an hour, something like that. But man, 30 miles an hour out of a 3S, and you saw it ran okay. No problems with thermal shutdown. I actually ran this a little bit before doing this video. Right there, some grass. Let's go give it a shot. Oh man, look at that wheelie right away. Not bad. Look at that. I don't think I've ever seen a WLToys wheelie like this before. Pretty cool. Whoa, whoa. This is like driving in the twin hammers, you know, the twin hammers, which is really what this is loosely, well, identically based on, rather. I don't want to say loosely because it's like basically a direct copy. Somebody lost the ball. We don't want to touch it. Could be some virus on this ball, you know, but we're gonna drive over the ball. Oh yeah. Destroyed that ball. This thing told the ball who's boss. Oh, wheelies all day long. That's like my Revo. Great RC, man. I kind of like this thing on 3S. Chasing myself with wheelies, guys. I'm honestly a little bit surprised. I thought this thing was actually gonna go slower. A lot of times when you don't have oil-filled shocks, you can barely hit 30 miles an hour. And this thing, no problem. The 3S ran, no problem. I did pretty much a whole bunch of footage with just this one battery. What I want to point out is the brush models are very good too. They're actually almost as fast as this. But the main benefit you get when you run a brushless in-runner style motor like the one in this Feiyue is you have very long run time. These things, the brushless systems, they're just way more efficient in terms of motor efficiency when it comes to, you know, delivering power and using very few amps. This thing ran great, wheelied all day long. If you just got yourself some nice oil-filled shocks, they're cheap, as I pointed out before, this thing would be honestly very, very cool. I like the metal body. I'm pretty content with the speed. I'm pretty happy with the stock brushless system. It is not a huge, powerful motor inside, but you know what? It runs a good amount of time. This is great for anybody really, even kids. The radio range was very good, and the couple times I did flip, it managed to basically roll over onto its you know, wheels. There it is. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any other tests you want me to do with this, put it in the comments. I might actually do it. I read all the comments and I try to respond to everybody. If you're one of the haters, that's okay. You have the right to an opinion. I have a right to respond to your opinion with my response, known as the Nitro Haters Corner. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. See you later.